Romeo, Romeo, for art thou Romeo, for I have an ADX. Here's the thing. The new ADX just came out, and I have thoughts. And of course I have thoughts because I have a brain. And because I have a brain, well, there's some people without thoughts. That's the thing. But the thing to remember is that Acura is a car company first. Before they're a luxury car company, they're a car company. What I mean by that is that at some point, the enthusiast is put into the back seat and the masses are put into the front seat and the Apple CarPlay. I may be rambling a little bit here, but the all-new Acura ADX has just been unveiled, and I definitely have some thoughts. You see, I personally absolutely adore Acura and Honda, both alike. I love them both, but I think this is a conversation that we probably need to have, and it's not exactly going to be the answer that Honda may or may not want to hear. I like Acura. I like Acura a lot. In fact, I've had two. And for Acura, for a lot of enthusiasts, represents the underdog in Japanese performance. And whether you believe that Acura is still relevant or not, and you still believe it is far less superior than its counterparts such as Genesis, Infiniti, and in some cases, Mercedes and BMW, Acura still gives us value, and that's part of the problem. And in this video, I wanted to talk about the ADX, but more importantly, who is for and who is not for. I'm trying to say this delicately. What's up, guys? My name is Chris, and welcome to The Breakdown, where we talk about everything cars, news, and reviews. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. So I saw the ADX, and I have a few thoughts, and my first impressions are that it is an HR-V that should not be in the Acura lineup, but who am I to say that? And in this video, I kind of want to dissect a few things, a little analysis tease, just a little bit, and why I think that this is actually brilliant for Acura, however, it is not brilliant for the enthusiast. With that being said, stick around and stay tuned because you are now watching The Breakdown. Okay, so getting into it, I don't want to waste you guys' time. This won't really be a terribly long video, but Acura just released the all-new ADX. Now, there had been talks about the ADX for quite some time, and if you remember, there was always a little bit of a point in Acura's lineup where they transitioned from sedans into SUVs like many other automakers. But before there was the ADX, there was the RDX. The RDX was kind of one of the first times that Honda not only introduced a turbocharged engine into a mainstream application, but more importantly, it was the first smaller size SUV after the success of the MDX. There was once the SLX, and the SLX is just a whole different bucket in itself, modeled after Isuzu and the Trooper, and so it wasn't exactly a true Acura. And when the MDX came out, it was a smash hit, and Acura, they knew they needed something else, and so this is what created the RDX. But there has never been a, if you will, compact SUV from Acura, and the RDX used to hold that slot, but it too has evolved, and the RDX nowadays is kind of a X3 competitor, if you will. This new ADX is a bit different, and this new ADX is supposed to be a compact entry into the luxury market, and it's very interesting because it's almost as if it's a CR-V with the 1.5 and the CVT with some luxury appointments, but you're paying a higher price tag, but it looks like an HR-V. I don't know. Anyway, this particular vehicle will have the 1.5 that comes straight out of the Integra. It is based on the platform of the HR-V with some elements of the Integra. It was really kind of wonky when I understood it. I could be wrong. Y'all let me know in the comments. But there is the 1.5, and Honda hasn't exactly released all of the tech specs behind it, but it is slightly longer than an HR-V, but it's slightly shorter than an RDX. And so it slots almost directly in between both the RDX and let's say the CR-V. The problem that I see here is that I see a lot of enthusiasts are pretty upset with the rear styling. That's probably the biggest point of controversy, if we're being quite honest. And the rear styling looks good on the HR-V. It doesn't exactly appeal to me as an enthusiast from the back. And it seems like I've gotten some feedback from some people, and what they've said is kind of looks like two vehicles smushed together. Now, it does have the chicane grille that Acura is most notable for, and there is going to be a lot of unique luxury appointments. One of the things that I think is really good for this is that it has a slightly bigger screen, and I believe it's a 9-inch screen, as well as it's going to have the Bang & Olufsen radio. And it used to be that they used to use the ELS system, which was incredible. And so I don't know, maybe it was the supplier contract or whatever. And so this is a different spec for Acura, but I'm going to give my opinion in the sense of what I think it will. Now, we don't know any official numbers. We don't know any 0 to 60 or whatever. I think that's besides the point here. And it is going to be the Integra without being the Integra. It's going to be the Integra for SUV, so I expect it to have some tighter handling. I expect it to give a slightly better grunt, and if we're being honest, the super handling all-wheel drive is a little bit better by comparison than Honda's all-wheel drive system. And so there is going to be a few things. This car will focus more so on handling than it will be performance, and that's assuming they don't Type S this out. But I want to point this out for all of you enthusiasts that absolutely hate the car. I'm going to say this with my whole chest, and I want you to hold my hand when I say this. This is not for us. This SUV is not for us. This SUV is for the masses. This is for people who want to get into the semi-luxury premium space without paying an exorbitant fee. And it is not going to be the BMW killer that we always hope Acura to be. Just saying it, throwing it out there. Acura has never been that. That would be slightly a lie, but Acura has never been that. And the thing is to remember is that Acura first is focusing on making sure it has sustainability so that it can give us some performance numbers. Now, if I have to be somewhat objective and critical for Acura, they always dumb it down. They never give us all that they can. I don't know why Acura does that, but they never give you the full shebang. It's always some level of 70% with 30% left on reserve. Don't ask me why, but I think the bigger thing to remember as an enthusiast is that this is going to be a value-packed offering from Acura. But if you want something exciting, there is still the TLX Type S, the Integra Type S, and respectively the MDX Type S, if that's just what really floats your boat. But I want all of my enthusiasts out there to remember this is for people who just want something really nice to drive with a few more luxury appointments. Now, it does come with the A-Spec trim as well. We haven't really confirmed any Type S models, but the A-Spec trim is a thing, and it will likely be their most popular model because it's typically a wheel and tire package in addition to a few other offerings you can't get on the base and the tech. And the top of the line is usually what most people just kind of like. If you're just really a Acura fan that just really likes a gentle drive, then usually the top of the line is the one that most people go for. But I'm going to be honest with you, most people will probably get the Tech and the A-Spec. Those are usually the bread and butter volume sellers of Acura's lineup. As far as interior goes, I don't know if I like the application of the Integra/Civic on it. I think that the SUVs, especially when the RDX first dropped back in 2019, it was crazy. The MDX, in terms of its design, is a little more plush. It's a little more comfy, if you will. And this one, I don't know. It just seems like this does not translate well, and I want it to, but it doesn't. But I do think that this is a great starting point for Acura and to expand the lineup, because quite frankly, there's not that many cars in Acura's lineup, and to add a smaller, compact entry style is beneficial for them, so I'm not going to take that away. I just don't necessarily always enjoy the cost-cutting components, and I say cost-cutting because typically what it is. Sharing platforms is usually most beneficial to, for efficiency, logistics, and part supply and procurement. So there's a lot of different things that go into the development of these cars, but I will say that I don't know if this is the one that I would pick, but I can see where the average consumer would find it okay. Of course, because it has the 1.5, it's going to get great fuel economy. I'm also very surprised that there was not a hybrid powertrain, which I think would have dynamically changed how we're pursuing this, in addition to the rear, because the rear is the most controversial part of this car. And I think that the interior space is adequate for a compact entry-level SUV, crossover, whatever, but I will go ahead and say that I don't know if this is Acura's best work, but I do expect it to sell, if that makes any type of sense. The Integra has done relatively decent as a result of many people going from other brands and coming back to Acura alongside Mazda and as well as Genesis. So this actually is not a bad proposition. I just would have liked to have a few more things, if anything, either a hybrid powertrain, or I would have loved to have the 1.5 5 with the DCT. It would have been a direct competitor with the X1. And I think that would have been a little closer to what we were anticipating from this. And I'm not going to say that it's not great. I personally am just underwhelmed. We don't know when it's supposed to drop. It's supposed to drop soon. And of course, as more and more time comes along, we'll get more and more specs about what the packages are and if there's any changes and anything. Just expect this to run from the late 20s to the late 30s, and I say that meaning price wise, so anywhere between 28,000 and probably 40, and that's not including any tax, tag, title fees, as well as not including any dealer markups and or add-ons. And hopefully it is, but I think for many other brands such as BMW offering the X1, which is essentially a really good bargain in my opinion, and them just releasing the X3, I think that BMW has a stronger proposition for this. Mercedes and the GLA is definitely a strong contender, and of course Infiniti and Nissan are going through their own troubles, and many other automakers. If anything, I would hope that this would compare more so to Buick and Lincoln, which makes sense because this is a big hit over in China, so it definitely makes sense. But overall, I personally just feel like it just was lacking to some degree. Don't beat me up in the comments. But you guys let me know what you think about the ADX. If you think that it will be successful, I've already gotten some feedback from y'all, and y'all are not happy. And I think that's a testament to the power of the enthusiasts versus the power of the dollar and the consumers. And we still have our Type S's, so I'm going to be honest with you guys, this is not for us. And at the end of the day, let people enjoy things. But with that being said, leave me a comment below and let me know what you think. And until the next video, I will see you guys later.